So this is interesting. Just seeing if it's actually going to stop here or continue to boot. Oh, well, things are still alive. So what I've done is, at least it's seeing the label this time. And I went ahead and copied over a known good working boot partition. And it's also seeing the IBM drive. So what's cool is we've got a 2.8 gig partition as number 2 that does have OPENSTEP. So I'm going to tinker with a couple things. I've got a customer on eBay. I think I'm just going to send him a known good working config today while I kind of iron out this project. I was hoping to copy some apps over for him from this drive, but I want to see if that works too, and it'll be neat. I wanted to actually come back and try and see if I can boot OPENSTEP with, well, first we'll see if it gets all the way to the NeXTSTEP install or the NeXTSTEP login. Then I'm going to go ahead and try and reboot and stop it at the initial boot screen and see if it will let me boot the OPENSTEP partition. But at any rate, that could be for this evening after I get my packages done. But at least I know that I can take an SD and change the extension to HDA. Okay, and it looks like it's going to boot. It's still chugging along, so I want to wait till we get to a login screen. I'll point out this here, this little 50 megahertz turbo color that I got a while back. So they did a custom card here, and looks like a custom processor. So I want to look into it a little bit more. They also have an LED light connected to the hard drive. So I'm going to be interested to see if they have any custom drivers in there that makes this sorcery possible. If I zoom in on this little card, the engineers out there might be able to get an idea of what's going on here. And I'll get more detailed, maybe still photos as well. And I want to see how it registers when I power it up. So we're still chugging along here. It says reboot complete. And I'm not sure. It just seems to be a little bit slower than SCSI hard drives. I'm not sure if that's something I'm doing. I want to try and see if I can do 1024 block size instead of 512 as well. If that increases speed and performance. There's so many little tweaks that we can do to try and optimize the performance of this new hardware when meshed with the old hardware. So shortly I should, with any luck, get a next login screen. And then from there, I should be able to see our new OPENSTEP master. So we got the spinning beach ball, the light's still flickering. And my guess is it's trying to figure out what's going on. Because I have 2 full operating systems installed on this little SD now. So maybe that causes a little bit of a delay, along with throwing in an IBM drive. We're really pushing the envelope here. But my thought is, by combining a hard drive with an SD, right, it might make the performance of the print drivers work better if that's all housed on the SCSI hard drive. As I say, I think it's timing's issue within the operating system and spooling the printer drivers and then kicking it out. So Our operating system is coming in, flying colors. Let's see if it's going to mount that 2.8 gig drive. As I say, that's kind of a nice bump as far as space. Because if, we're adding an extra 5 or 6 gigabyte over, the different partitions, that's just more stuff we can include on here. Bear with me, it's we just have to be a little patient. These computers are doing the best that they can. For 1988 through 92 technology, it was the best they could do. Okay, so I do see one disk coming up there, which is huge. There's the other one. So this is my test 2.8 gig, right? And I want to see how that looks. I believe it, when it did my little build disk too, it created kind of a little local apps folder, which is interesting. And I'm going to drop that up here, right? Drag it over. And I want to test this theory. So if I go up to the disk, this is the hard drive, the IBM hard drive. And let's see what's on that. So I want to click back to here. As I say, I'm jumping around, testing the capability of these, little Zulu cards. And so there, it's going to bring us to the IBM disk. And we're going to take a look at what's in their local apps, right? And, okay. So, must have apps. Interesting. Okay. Let's see what's in their library. Is this the one with the jokes? It must be the other drive with the jokes. At any rate, looks like we have Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Separator. I think I've already got all these apps on my master. Go to here and see what this is about. 3.1. Well, that'd be kind of cool to add in. So let's see if it copies over. And we're going to drop it into local apps here. Boop. So that's going to local apps on my new 2.8 gig. And that version of OmniWeb will be compatible with OpenSTEP. And let's take a look at their must-have apps. Feed icon maker, Stewart, and TGL printer. Sure, why don't we drop the must-have apps into local apps? And see if there's any good games. Why not? So might as well drop the games over there too, in case there's some interesting stuff. And to see how the copying is going, you can go up here on your upper left, see tools and processes. And that'll show you what's happening on a pie chart. And you can see that it's successfully copying all this stuff. First, it'll go through and size, and then it'll copy over. And there you have it. Ooh, we're getting missile command. Awesome. And over here, we're getting feed, and as well as OmniWeb. So NeXT is pretty amazing on how much, for the day, how much stuff it can handle being thrown at it and correctly copy. And then we're using this little SD card too, so it's dropping it into our 2.9 gig partition. If you want to find out how much space you have, right, left on the partition, you can click that. It'll highlight it, and then down here, it'll tell you how much. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Okay. So about 679 meg. You can also go back up to your tools and inspector, and it'll pop open a panel down here. And so you can measure the size of any applications, the size of a folder, and that should just take a second. As I say, I'm throwing a lot of stuff at it to see how well it handles, you know, all these different tasks as well. And there it pops up, and it'll tell you, you know, size 542 meg. And that's off. It's actually 2.8 gig, okay? So, you know, there's some discrepancies between the old parameters in the software and what the actual is if you go above 2 gig. But it still seems to work as long as you don't go over 4 gig. It'll run for a little bit, but if you get a hard shutdown and reboot, everything goes haywire because it doesn't understand the disk drive geometries. So you're basically going to lose everything. Now, the advantage of an SD card is if you have a master ISO backup, we can come back and save all that stuff by just copying it back on, say, modern hardware using an SD card reader. I know I'm just kind of rattling off a bunch of stuff, but the mesh of old technology and new technology is making quite a difference. What used to take, for example, a month if you had a drive crash, experimenting with, you know, the larger hard disks, and then having to reinstall all the operating system from floppy and CD. As I say, it can take weeks up to a month. Now with the SD card, we're talking using modern hardware like my Mac Mini Pro, and you know, having HD a 2 gig partitions already backed up. And if you've got 5 or 6 of those with different software, different configurations, you're able to drop it back on your SD card. You format that SD card first, then you drop those 2 gig partitions, each one having its, you know, OPENSTEP or NeXTSTEP as the boot, and then the additional 2 gigs having, say, an additional local apps with hundreds of, you know, third-party apps. It takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes. As I say, that used to take a month. So that's been nice. And you can see that it is working. So it is capable right now. It's copying from an IBM hard drive onto the second partition, not the first, which is our OPENSTEP partition. The primary partition is NeXTSTEP 3.3. Now, what's going to be interesting here is I want to, once this is done, maybe log out and see if it'll let me log in under OPENSTEP, even though OPENSTEP's in the second partition. I'm going to do that a little bit later. As I say, I'm happy to see that we can get a 2.8 gig partition single, right? It is capable of copying from a original hard drive, not only to your master boot partition, but a secondary partition. And successfully, and I'll show that it is capable once those apps are copied over. We're going to launch one here, okay? So we're going to go into our test. That's the 2.8 gig. Go into local apps, and with any luck, we should see them all installed there, right? Everything we just copied over, it's still copying stuff over. And yet, next, because of protected memory and what was called preemptive multitasking will let you do this. So even if you're in the process of copying stuff over, we should still be able to launch an application. And to test that theory, it looks like our must-have apps are cleanly installed. And the games are coming in. And let's go back even over to our primary and see if there's any local apps here that are installed. And so we do have some apps installed over here as well. Okay. So this is our 3.3. So I can actually take these apps. Let's take a look here. And this is one that I wanted to get. So I'm going to take these little utilities and install them as well. And that's that Metro Tools app I was talking about, which is kind of neat because it has that screensaver that we were going to check. So I'm going to drag this thing up to, let's see, we want to go to this little local apps folder. And so that's going to copy all those fun apps onto our OPENSTEP folder. And while all that's going on, we're going to launch Metro Tools. It's going to appear down there. Nothing's bombed yet, so we're good. And this is, I mean, you can see why when Apple bought this operating system and merged with NeXT and all the engineers and software, it saved their bacon, man. I mean, I've sat here and just opened app after app after app after app. The first day I sat down at one, we launched 25 apps and couldn't bomb the thing. It was amazing. And I'd come from a Windows 3.1.1 world where, you know, you just had, if you broke wind south, it basically caused the blue screen of death in more ways than one. And everything's frozen, all your stuff's lost. And then you've got to reboot, you know. So, and this actually will run Windows 3.1.1. I got that set up over here. So you can go into the darkness if you want. In fact, we could probably prove that here while all this other stuff's going on. So it's actually going through sizing on that 2 gig, 2.8 gig, and figuring that out. It's already copying all this stuff over the games. So it's going to factor the fact that you're copying stuff in. It's sizing to drop those utilities in. We're running an application here called Metro Tools, right? I could even maybe... I love this, the elegance of the operating system even today. And, you know, it could be a daily driver with a couple tweaks. And it's amazing how much they were capable of doing on just 2 gigs. I mean, all these applications take up maybe a floppy or two, right? This little Daydream app there, I'll show you that. It allows you to boot up as a Macintosh. So we can actually boot this NeXT Cube up as a Mac with Daydream. And the developer, Simon Schubig, I contacted him a few years back and asked, hey, it used to require a Daydream, what they call the dongle, right, that plugged into your DSP on the NeXT, and it had the Apple ROMs in it. And he came in and rewrote it, okay, so that we don't have to use physical Apple ROMs. So now and it's free. You can boot up your NeXT as a Mac. Pretty cool, even with the Dimension board. Simon also helped Andreas with updating previous. So it's really neat. We have we invite you to join nextcomputers.org, right? It's really cool, all the different projects that everybody's working on. And I hope you feel like I'm contributing as well showing you the capabilities of this fantastic hardware and software. So let's see. This is Metro Tools, and I discovered this the other night. I'm not even sure what the shades are there. We're going to click on it and see what happens. What I wanted to show is you can do a screensaver app. NeXT invented the computer screensaver. The developers did. And the reasoning was they wanted it to look like Star Trek. So they created the stars in the background. Okay. Before then, computers didn't have enough memory or graphics capability. We're talking 1988 to be able to do that. NeXT made it possible with the software development tools and the developers to create screensavers. And these guys took it a step further. And so they've created a bunch of their own screensavers within Metro Tools. It lets you import music from a Mac, fonts from a Mac. And what I really liked is this little slideshow here. And so if you have images, you can create your own screensaver slideshow. I can kind of show you what one of their screensavers looks like. And I'm learning how to make screensavers within NeXT developer demos, examples. They have a way for you to go through once you have the GNU compilers installed. Okay, and there are directions on how to do all that. And I've loaded all that stuff up on our master. It'll let you create your own applications, including screensavers. And there's information on how to make games. You can make your own Doom levels. So there's a lot of really fun stuff you can do. So let's go to, what's Metroscape? Hopefully these won't bomb as well. So I'm now launching, okay, so we can do skyline, moon, and meteors. Might as well click all that stuff, right? Swing for the fences and see what happens. Meteors, moon, and we'll click preview and see what happens here. So, oh, looky there. Okay, so if we do a screensaver, what happens? I've never even seen this one. Screensaver. Oh. Or we can do a backdrop, which should throw it into the background. And bear with me. Do screensaver. We don't want to do screen lock. As I say, I'm pushing the I'm pushing the envelope on all this because we still have warnings. Okay. No warning. It should just launch it, man. We're not bombing this baby yet. There we go. We have the moon and the stars coming. I moved the mouse, so I took it away. But look at that. We got meteors. I'm sure there's stuff going to be flying through now. You get it. Okay, so, and I'm sure our mood is probably correlated to the calendar on the NeXT that I've set. Let's try another one. What is blob? Do screensaver. Here comes the blob. Oh no. Oh no. All right. Metroscape. What's that? Oh, that's the one we just did. Scribble. What's scribble? Speed. Oh, well, this is cool too. You can set the speed, the width, the size. And all the while, you can see up there, stuff is installing. We're going to do the screensaver. Preview. There it goes. So now we got the scribble going. If we do the screensaver, it should bring up the scribble. I know enough to be dangerous, man. Let's go screensaver on the scribble do. There we go. And say I didn't like scribble. We're going to do something else. We'll do clock. All right. Do screensaver. It's going to bring up my planets again. Come on. Hey, there's the clock. Okay. And, man, am I wasting your time today? They're like, there's like a half hour of my life I won't get back. Other features of Metro tools. Administrative tools, so you can set it up to have your custom screensavers and login panels, which is kind of neat. So we no longer have to do the manual dwrite login. This actually creates login hooks, which should be a lot more elegant within preferences. Well, what else can I talk your ear off about? This has an archiver, which is really neat built in. And I have reached out to Gordon, which was the original developer here. And hopefully he'll get back to me about, because I've sold this for many years. I'd like to be able to offer a hobbyist license to everybody officially. You know, most of these developers, when they hear from me, they're excited, happy about it, that I'm promoting their app after all these years, and it's led to some spin-off business for them in their new businesses. And I believe his new business is metrics.com. And often these are the guys that are running the show after all these years. So they're the CEO of multi-billion-dollar companies, and it's fun for me to correspond with them and hear the stories of how they got their start way back in the day on NeXT. And it's a win-win for everybody because then we know. So like AI, artificial intelligence, was started on NeXT. And a lot of innovations. I mean, the first 3D gaming engine, the development of the World Wide Web. And these guys are actual, you know, my customers. So I've been fortunate. I'm not a rich guy. You know, I try and keep the prices fair for everybody. And, you know, I bought and sold hardware from the same customers, in some cases 3 times. It's free market, so I don't mind if they resell, you know, to other people, and I try and support that as well. And I think, you know, I don't mind adding my name to systems I've restored as well if it helps them achieve what they need to. Economy's tough and times are tight, and I understand that. And I've got a good rep out there. You can probably Google me and find that out. And I've got a lot of projects on deck, and this is going to help because this is something that I haven't tried before with the larger OPENSTEP partition being set as the second partition. What I'm going to do with this card now is maybe go back and change the naming of it so that it is the primary boot partition and see if it'll boot to OPENSTEP. Okay, secondary, it works fine. It works fine on previous, but as I say in the last video, we were having a little issue with it recognizing the boot script. So I think I fixed that. And it looks like it's chugging away, copying all the stuff, which we want to do. And I'm going to call it good on this little project and let it do its thing and box up the packages I need to get out today and then come back to this after the post office. So stay tuned. More fun to come. And above all, I want to get the world's fastest turbo color fired up and I want to get Tristan's color system fired up, and I've got other things. Jill's, I need to contact Matt. I think he's going to have your boards here, recap boards in the next couple days. And we've got the professor up in Concordia. His system's over my shoulder. So I've got many projects on deck, and stay tuned, more fun to come. Currently copying He's Dead Jim sound and hyperspace sound, missed bonus sound. Well, that looks good. I don't think I've heard any of those. So I'm still finding cool stuff after all these years. Appreciate your business and patience, everybody, and have a good day. This job's fun for me.